Doggone it, someone left their interpreter here.
Come on, guys, I couldn't get up on the stage without referencing Inter in some way. So, all right, well, I feel that it's fitting that I get to give my after dinner, so, yeah. All right, so here we go. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. I wanted to begin with this classic, Keep on the Sunny Side by Ada Blinkhorn. So I did. Because I wanted to show off my air harmonica. And because for the next 10 minutes, the words in this song are going to be our motto. Keep on the sunny side of life. Now, I'd like to go ahead and tell you all of the points I'm going to be covering today. On second thought, why would I do that? I think it'd be more fun if you were surprised. So, prepare to be surprised. Years ago, I knew this old man, Thomas Dungan. He was a sight. Poor, bad health, and a trash picker. He put so much junk in the back of his old beat-up pickup truck that little pecan trees had actually started to grow there. But the funny thing was that Mr. Thomas was the only one who didn't know that he was poor. He'd take his little bit of money and he'd buy fruit and he'd give it away to all of his friends. And when he didn't have money, that was fine. He'd still give fruit away, just not fruit that he bought. My old pastor from a few years back, very germ conscious, was eating and complimenting some grapes that had mysteriously shown up at church when Mr. Thomas says, "Can you believe that Winn-Dixie threw these perfectly good grapes in their dumpster?" Grapes went spewing everywhere. Mr. Thomas was dirt poor, but he always kept on the sunny side of life. Now you have a choice right here and right now. Are you going to embrace the dark side of life, kind of like in Star Wars? Or will you, like Mr. Thomas, keep on the sunny side no matter what? But why keep on the sunny side? Well, I'm about to tell you why. Now, it's my personal belief that giving a name to a random part of a speech is awesome, so I named this next part of my speech, Happy Jack and the World's Smallest Violin. Now, once in a blue moon, the earth is blessed, for lack of a better word, blessed with the presence of a being who is 100% gloom, doom, and pessimism. My mama. My great-grandmother was this person. Now, she died years before I was born. But my dad's told me all about her. There's a t-shirt that says, "I'd love to be an optimist, but I doubt if it would work out." That was pretty much Momo in a nutshell. Her never-ending sob stories earned her the contradictory nickname Happy Jack, a name bestowed upon her by my dad because she literally only told 3 kinds of stories: hopeless, depressing, and hopelessly depressing. And the longer the story was, the sadder and the worse it became, and it was so bad that anytime she'd start a story, my dad would look at his sister and he'd do, "The world's smallest violin, playing a sad song." Mama was a character, you know. She'd stand at the window, dead middle August, South Louisiana, and say things like, "It looks so cold out there. Those poor cows must be suffering." No, Mama, the cows are dying of heat stroke, if anything. It's August in South Louisiana. But leave it to Mama to take a sunny day in August and turn it into the dreary dead of winter. Mama is a shining example of a person you want to be nothing like. So why keep on the sunny side? To prevent what I call Mama syndrome. Mama syndrome is, well, this definition of the word pessimism from dictionary.reference.com. The tendency to see, anticipate, or emphasize only bad or undesirable results, conditions, problems, outcomes, etc. Mama could take any joyous occasion and turn it into a funeral parlor. But as I recently experienced, it's better to do the opposite. It's better to take funeral parlors and turn them into joyous occasions. A few months ago, my grandfather died. He really did, though. A few months ago, my grandfather died. And he was a junk / antique / weird thing collector. He'd take some piece of junk and he'd sand it and he'd paint it and he'd glue a baby doll hand to it and he'd sell it. And I'm not kidding about the baby doll hands either. It was a peculiar favorite of his. People bought this weird stuff from him. I don't know who was more questionable, him or his client base. Anyway, when his memorial service came, me and some other family members told all sorts of stories about him. And by the end, we had laughed so hard that our sides almost hurt. And it lifted the heaviness right away. So this begs the question, which is the better way to live life? Like sob story, gloom and doom, Momo, or with the attitude that you should laugh even at funerals? One of the most famous and respected physicians of all time, Dr. Seuss. He once prescribed, don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. But what's the difference between gloom and the sunny side, and is it really something that we can control? Well, I say yes it is, because it's all about perspective. But what kind of perspective? Well, good perspective. Now, don't get me wrong, people don't wake up in the morning and be like, nah! Today I'm gonna have a bad perspective on everything. You know, I'm gonna ruin children's futures and trip little old ladies just to be evil, make coworkers miserable. Nobody does that. People don't usually purposely avoid happiness, but a lot of us do have a touch of Momo syndrome, don't we? Oh yeah, we get overwhelmed by life, or we're simply too serious. I mean, let's get real. Life can be tough, so how in the world are we supposed to keep on the sunny side of it? Well, if you have a good, or as I like to say, a God perspective, then you can keep on the sunny side even if life throws you a curveball. And I know this from personal experience. A couple of years ago, my father and I took a trip down to a tornado-ravaged part of Alabama to help a couple rebuild their house. And so we're there, and I'm outside helping a buddy of mine use a machine called a wood planer. Now, if you're not familiar with wood planers, I want you to stand up and do a little happy dance, because you are truly a blessed person. Wood planers are diabolical machines of pure evil, and this is all you need to know about them. They have blades that are super sharp and that spin super fast, and when you push a board over them, they remove the rough surface of the board and leave it smooth. Now, since these blades have a tendency to be extremely dangerous, a spring-loaded retractable guard is placed over them. Now, a guard. It's called a guard for a reason. It's there to guard you from what's underneath. Who'd have guessed? Well, for some reason, I still don't know why, I believe psychologists refer to the phenomenon as stupidity. I reached out with my right hand and I pulled the guard back while the machine was on, possibly to find out what was underneath, and my now slightly shorter index and middle fingers can testify to the fact that, yeah, I made acquaintance with what was there, and no, it was not friendly. And even though this was a trying time in my life, I promise you, I had a relationship with God, and I was able to keep on the sunny side. And if you have a relationship with Christ, then you can keep on the sunny side even if life throws you a curveball. Because if you're a Christian, you'll know a couple of things. You'll know that trials only come to build strength, endurance, character, and dependence on God. And if you know that, then yeah, you can have joy even in the midst of a trial. Now, I'll admit, at first the pain was pretty agonizing. But once the nurse had shot up my fingers with enough medicine to numb a horse, and I legitimately believe the needle was indeed intended for a horse, my mind moved on to happier thoughts, like, what kind of jokes can I get out of half chopping my fingers off? A little backstory. I consider myself a professional punter. I can make a pun out of almost any word, and so even though I had literally just been writhing in pain, I had to take advantage of the opportunity. I mean, wood planer, so easy to make a pun out of. It's amateur stuff, and so I'm sitting in the hospital, and I start saying things like, it's plain to see there's some serious pain going on right now. Or, it was plainly stupid to stick my hand in a wood planer. And then the doctor comes in to check on the nurse's work, and I know deep down in my heart that if I hadn't asked the doctor this next question, it would be my greatest regret to this day. And so I look him square in the eye and I say, Doctor, will I be able to play the piano after this? And he says, he was very serious, he says, yes, I don't think that should be a problem. And so I say, well, I'm so glad because I could never play the piano before. I swear, they sent me the blandest doctor in the entire state of Alabama. The man didn't even crack a smile, just nothing. I had to find him and tell him to keep on the sunny side of life. So, next time tragedy comes your way, next time you're physically wounded, next time someone pokes fun at you, laugh it up. Live life believing Romans 8:28, which was my family's motto in 2012 when my house burned down. And we know that all things work together for the good to them who love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. Guys, if you trust God and if you keep on the sunny side, then you can stare life in its ugly face and crack jokes about its mama. God has given each and every one of us one short life to live, and I want mine to be a happy one. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes you have to make some strange choices in life in order to keep on the sunny side. For instance, you remember Mr. Thomas, who I talked about a minute ago? Well, he loved to fish in our pond, and after he died, we actually found out that he had requested for his cremated ashes to be sprinkled in our pond. Now, after carefully considering this for about 3 seconds, we decided that was a little bit too creepy and said no. It's kind of hard to keep on the sunny side if you know that you've been swimming in Mr. Thomas. And I'm not gonna lie, the fried catfish would not taste the same. Now, we've had our fun, but I would like to leave you with a very serious and very applicable quote to what we've been talking about today, and it's from my all-time favorite silent monk. Quote, end quote. He inspires me too, I know. Now, if those words don't help you keep on the sunny side, you're hopeless. Nothing will. Thank y'all.